this is the mystery of ourselves.
I just want to do the soft shoulder little number and just look at it, just because, I mean, this is a hell of a rave you just did.
So do the number already.
It's real simple.
The mushrooms growing bullshit.
I mean, I get this, as I listen to you, I feel like the mushroom is out there, and it's kind of like an implant when you take it. And it actually shifts the context. Whereas I look at it in a certain way as not the end, but one of the means. And that it's not an implant, but it's actually a context actualizer, if you will. It actually opens, it's a biochemical key that opens a door to what's already there.
Oh yeah, it isn't an implant. It's that if you're not stoned, you're down. And to glorify that in this Calvinistic way that this society does is to say, only the depressed perceive correctly. Only the despairing truly understand. Only those who have given up hope have recognized the real situation. That's Western civilization's message to itself. And it's just ridiculous. No wonder people are down. Look at the history of Western Europe. All these gloomy male dominator types running around with sword and tongs to exterminate all unorthodoxy, to push the goddess religions to the frontier. Priestcraft, beastly little priests. It was Voltaire, I think, who said, mankind will know no peace until the last priest is strangled in the entrails of the last politician. And, if we're talking about shamanism, we're talking about the primary stratum of religious experience, which has been ripped off and sold down the river by every band of beastly little priesties that have ever come along. And they were the inventors of hierarchical orthodoxy. They are the ones who taught kings and popes their trade. And
but it's true that what they're against is the experience. They're not against. It's not the drug per se. That's also true for the psychoactive drug. Their importance is not the drug. It's not the plant even. It's the fact, it's the experience that they open up for you. That's the real significance, and that's the significant difference between psychedelic drugs and all other drugs: cocaine, heroin, alcohol, barbiturates, amphetamines. All alter your consciousness. They don't teach you anything. The psychedelic plants are teaching intelligences with which we have the ability to enter into a relationship from which we can learn something about our role on this planet, on this earth, in the network, in the interconnected web of all life. So you can have the experience that people have had, that you can learn from a plant, from eating a plant, what it means to be a human being. When you think about it, that's pretty peculiar.
Well, one teacher that I worked with called them actually teacher plants.
Yeah, sure. Sexuality is a good intermediate example here, because orgasm is a buzz, and you don't have to wonder if they would have illegalized it if they could have. It's what alarms them, and so they make you feel guilty about masturbation. God forbid that you should even have impure thoughts. They just, try to say, do not experience your body. Do not elevate your mind. Do not touch anything which empowers you, which authenticates you, which unifies you to yourself and other people. All that is bad. We will tell you where God is. We will answer all questions. So the drugs really, it's interesting, they are like an augmentation of felt experience, exactly like sexuality is. And I think it's sexuality that has kept us sane. If they could have repressed it, they would have. God knows they tried hard enough. Now that's been broken open. The clawed hand of the paternal male ego has been being slowly forced open for about 500 years. I mean, it's been a long march. These guys had it all sewed up around the year 1100 or something. And
3000 BC.
Well, it comes and goes.
Last week the Senate closed the hand a little.
How?
There's an anti-pornography bill that's just been passed by the Senate. It's on its way to the House.
Yes. Well, this is another way of
print, cable, television, etc.
And mysticism, mystical experience, even without drugs. Mystics have always been heretics. They've always been at odds. The church has always felt uncomfortable. I knew a man who was thrown out of his monastery for having mystical experience, nothing to do with drugs. He just kept having spontaneous mystical visions, and they said, "You don't belong here." What?
They were psychiatrically evaluated.
Yeah.
And off they went. Jackie, isn't that true? Yeah.
They told him, go out and have a family, get it out of your system.
The general social attitude toward madness, the fact that shamans, witch doctors, this is what they were called until 30 years ago when anthropology rescued the term shaman. There's great fear of getting off the track, of leaving the idols of the tribe behind. And yet the momentum of the idols of the tribe have pushed us to the point of global catastrophe. We must get off the track. The track leads right straight over the edge into an abyss.
Obliteration.
Obliteration.
But the direction, don't you think we should be talking more to our leaders? I mean, they should be experiencing the same psychedelic things that we're experiencing.
Well, the question then becomes, who are our leaders?
Well, no, wait a minute. In fact, we know who our leaders are. They're the people in power.
Well, but there's different centers of power. For instance,
the people running things.
Different kinds of leadership, too.
Yeah, I agree with that.
well, I agree. I think that the managerial temperament is the one who has to be reached. That the people who control world banking, world commerce, the direction of scientific research, and I think these people can be reached. I think that to a degree greater than we tend to realize, they are our peers. It's a matter simply, I think you can convince anybody of the rightness of this position. I mean, well, I think I could. I can't imagine how you could flatten me.
There is some interesting...
For that reason, I worry that making it a mass phenomenon now, in some ways, will antagonize them and make it more difficult.
Well, I don't think we're in any danger of making it a mass phenomenon. I mean, Tim Leary, in the great heyday of the 60s, talked to more people before lunch than I have talked to in my entire speaking career. I mean, he addressed crowds of 150,000 people. That's not the way to do it. I think Aldous Huxley had a much better notion, which is to reach the people who are themselves catalytically active in society. And to me that means the writers, producers, designers, choreographers, artists, teachers, politicians, but they have so much, they're so nervous. They will be the last to join. But for instance, bankers, the people who own the world need to be convinced that their investment is threatened. That will sober them up. And I think they are. I think the greenhouse effect, once we get this summer into the bag and the world statistics are jotted up and we see how many billions of dollars the greenhouse effect cost people who own the cereal producing lands of the Western Hemisphere, they meet. They're concerned. I think the turn is on. You know, H.G. Wells said, history is a race between education and catastrophe. Well, it's neck and neck in the home stretch, but I don't think anybody should tear up their ticket and toss it in the air.
One interesting thing that's happening, too, is that people are now, this economist, Michael Phillips, for example, has made this interesting prediction that the 90s, see, there was an interesting parallel between the 1960s and the 1890s. also are times of social revolution, new ideas. But those ideas didn't really get into legislation until the teen years.